So I was in active addiction for probably close to 6 years, and I came out here for treatment in October of 2021. I had a normal life prior to my addiction. It started with actually a car accident, and I was prescribed prescription pain medications, and that quickly became into excessive amounts of using the pain medications. And then I ended up with cancer, and then through the chemo and the radiation of that and the pain medications, it started to be a lot for me to handle. I eventually lost my job, so I was a nurse for 10 years. After losing my job, I got more into my addiction, stronger into my addiction, and started using methamphetamines and a lot of IV drug use. So I was starting to get sick from not having my prescribed pain medications, which I was not just taking what was prescribed, I was buying more off the streets in excessive amounts, and then stronger pain medications other than what I was prescribed. So I had friends, of course, that I would start buying the prescription pain meds from, and they introduced me to the methamphetamines. I started smoking, and then quickly after that, my children's father seen me in addiction, and at that point he stopped letting me see my children. After that, I just got very, I didn't really want to live anymore, to be honest. I lost my job, I had lost my kids, I then lost my house, and I was living out of my car. When you think that you're never going to be able to see your kids again, and you don't have Jesus in your life, you don't care what's going to happen to you. Like I would use to the extent where I would pray to die. Like I did not want to live. I felt that I had no value or worth left after losing my kids. I didn't know who to turn to. I didn't know what to do. I was lost. Yes, actually, me and my sister, she's 18 months older than me, was raised by my father alone. And we lived at my grandmother's house, and she would take us to church growing up as children. It was nothing like this church, nothing like this church. But we did get to go to Sunday school, vacation Bible school, and so that was a part of our childhood up until I was probably, I'd say I was in the 4th grade. And then my dad moved me and my sister out of my grandmother's house, and my life changed from there. I was never taken to church after that. My dad was very mentally and physically abusive to me and my sister growing up, and he was gone a lot. So it was pretty much just me and my sister growing up. I believe he was in meth addiction for some time, because when I was 17, I was a junior, he left and was never around. I was going to school and working and taking care of myself in an apartment that he paid rent for. Yeah, so at first, I just started talking to him because I was locked in a cell for 23 hours a day. I didn't have anything else to do. Again, I was barely talking to my kids at this time, and that was it. I still hadn't had any communication with the rest of my family. But there was one lady, it was actually my ex-boyfriend's mother, who had stayed in contact with me, and I would talk to her, and she was taking me to church right before I had got locked up this time. And so I was reaching out to her, and I had a lot of questions, and she was there for me, and she actually mailed me a Bible and some books to read. And so it was a Life Principle daily Bible, so it was easy for me where I was at that point in my life. And I started reading this Bible, and then I had the Bible that was from jail, and so I started in Genesis. So I was reading that Bible with my daily Bible, and everything just started syncing up, and it was mind-blowing to me. I was like, wow, there's something here, and so then I was reading and praying and talking to him and talking to this lady on the phone, every once in a while about what I was reading and going on. And I kept getting court dates, and they kept passing my court dates, and I was like, okay, when am I going to get to go home, and there was one night I just broke down, and I was crying so hard and praying so hard, and to where the point, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't open my eyes. They were just so sore. And that night, after I had went to sleep, I was praying that I just want to feel comfort. I just want to feel love. I don't, just give me a reason of why I'm here. And that night it felt like someone just was holding me. After I cried myself to sleep, I woke up and it was just like holding me. And when I woke up that next morning, I was just, the way that my body felt was just different. I felt so much peace and comfort, and I actually had court that morning, and again my court date was passed for another, I think, 2 months. And I was so happy for another court date to be passed, because I was like, okay, he's doing something with me. I'm okay with sitting here. I was okay with it. I was okay with being locked up for 23 hours a day because I had my Bible, I had my peace, I had everything that I needed at that point in my life. I ended up relapsing once again, actually, and shortly after that, I was like, I've had enough. I just, I want my family, I want my kids. So I came to California. Like, no matter how bad I wanted it, I just couldn't do it there. And that was a hard move for me, to move halfway across the United States away from my family, or my kids that I was trying to rebuild my relationship with. My life since I've been coming to the sanctuary has completely changed. I was still broken when I had first came here, and I still had a lot of questions, anger. The way that I treated people was still not right. It took time. It wasn't overnight for me. But I slowly started getting that peace back, and he's being faithful to me through so much that where I didn't deserve it. And I just stayed in the Word. I just stayed in the Bible, reading and trying to do the Bible studies alone at first, just reading through some books. To me, I was like, I'm reading, so I'm gonna be okay. So a lot of I would be watching, and because it was new to me, this kind of environment, and like the prayer, coming up for prayer and coming up here to worship. The worship team is amazing, and I was intimidated by it at first, but then after praying, and I was like, I gotta go all in. I need to quit being held back. So I slowly started making my way up from the back row, up a row each service, and then I was like, who cares what people think about me? Because that's what was keeping me, was my pride. And I just kept praying and reading, and then I was up front worshiping, and then I got plugged in with some of my sisters here and getting mentored, and it just has completely changed the way that I walk. God has provided so much for me since then. He's provided what I've needed financially. The car, the place to stay, the food, the clothing. I'm able to provide for my kids. But not only that, like the peace that he gives me. Like I hear from him now. Like when I stay in prayer and I hear from him. I see signs from him. I see wonders. I see him working in my life like I never have before. Not even when I was in that jail cell.